My name is Megan Boucher, and today I want to talk to you about the toxic flower sea urchin. What is a sea urchin? A sea urchin is an echinoderm. That means its body is symmetrical on 5 sides, as you can see in the picture above. They have globular bodies covered in calcified spines that act as body armor. These spines can be rounded or hollow-tipped. The hollow tips usually have venom within them. Sea urchins can be found in both tropical and Arctic waters, but since most divers explore tropical water, they are more of a concern around these parts. Sea urchins walk with their tubular feet and defend themselves with their pedicellariae. The particular sea urchin I will be going over with you all today is the Toxonus pileolus, commonly known as the flower sea urchin. The taxonomy is as follows. Kingdom, Animalia. Phylum, Echidodermata. Class, Echinodea. Order, Camerodonta. Family, Toxonudistae. The flower sea urchin is one of 4 species of Toxonus. As if their armor isn't enough, these critters like to cover themselves with sediment, algae, rubble, and basically any sort of debris they can grab in order to make themselves blend in with their surroundings. You can see an example of this with the image on the bottom right corner. To better understand the difference between the spines and the tube feet, let's take a look at the images on the left. Figure A shows tube feet. Tube feet are used to grab onto the urchin's surroundings. In this case, it is grabbing rubble to cover itself, but it can also grab onto the ground in order to move from one location to the next. Figure B shows the tube feet grabbing floating debris, which are indicated by the arrows. Figure C shows the spines. As you can see, they look much more sharp than the tube feet. In this case, the spines are pushing fragments upward and away from its body. Figure D shows both the tube feet and spines working together to hold a small rock. The important takeaway from these photos are to be able to see the difference in shape and function of their feet versus their spines. What do the pedicellariae do? The pedicellariae are the parts of the flower sea urchin that contain toxins. They are hollowed spines on the exterior of the urchin with small, claw-like pincers at the tip. The pedicellariae are used as both a hunting and defensive mechanism for the flower sea urchin. This mechanism works against marine wildlife as well as humans. When hunting, the sea urchin uses its pedicellariae to grab its prey. The venom helps weaken the prey to make it an easier catch. They are used as a defense mechanism by simply injecting venom into the victim. In some cases, the entire spine will penetrate the victim and stay in their body, causing further complications. The flower sea urchin is sensitive to light and tends to have its pedicellariae pointed towards shadows, because usually a shadow means that there is something nearby that might try to harm the urchin. A sea urchin cannot tell the difference between another organism trying to cause harm or just touching it accidentally while swimming by. This means that they are likely to inject venom into anything they view as a threat. Why should we care? We should care because humans can easily come into contact with them. Some cultures are known for eating sea urchins, and if you are inexperienced, you might mistake the flower sea urchin for a yummy snack. For those of you who don't eat them, an accidental interaction with the flower sea urchin while diving will be enough to cause severe damage, especially if a spine breaks off and stays inside of you. In this short video, we will get a close look at the exterior of the flower sea urchin. Although coming into contact with one can end very ugly, the organism itself is quite beautiful. The pedicellariae are the spines with the flat flower-like tips. The flower sea urchin can control the movement of these tips which is what allows them to close, grab onto prey, and inject venom. The clear tubes coming off the urchin are the tubular feet. If you look closely, you can see the feet grabbing hold of the ground beneath it. This is how the flower sea urchin gets around. It is also notable that the urchin is slightly covered with debris. If a diver happens to come into contact with a flower sea urchin, they might experience the following symptoms: pain, edema, bleeding, arrhythmia, systemic complications, vomiting, respiratory distress, and in severe cases, death. One of the most common symptoms, and thankfully for us, the symptom with the least gross picture, is a granuloma. The images you see here are granulomas caused by coming into contact with a flower sea urchin. The bottom image is a granuloma on a microscopic scale. Most experienced divers know that if a regular sea urchin's spine penetrates the skin, it is usually a mild irritation that goes away anywhere between a few hours to a week. Those who are unaware of the toxic flower sea urchin might not seek medical attention until it is too late. Fishermen, divers, and even scientists are at risk of the venom of the flower sea urchin, especially since they like to cover themselves up and might not be visible with just a quick glance around. Most of the symptoms can be treated, but the best way to stay safe is to prevent interaction with the toxic flower sea urchin altogether. Studies are being developed to see if the flower sea urchin, among other echinoderms, have pharmaceutical potential. The sea cucumber seems to be the most effective in producing biomolecules that can help treat a number of health issues in human beings. And since they are closely related, scientists are hopeful and see a potential in sea urchins. Sea urchins produce sterol, which is a lipid used to help cell signaling. The image in the top right-hand corner is the chemical structure of lanosterol. The bottom right-hand image shows which echinoderm produces which sterol. As you can see, sea urchins produce lanosterol, which is used to treat cataracts. Studies show they also produce terpenoids, which are used in steroids in cancer prevention and treatment. Further studies are being performed worldwide to see just how medically useful echinoderms can be. In conclusion, the flower sea urchin, although small, can have big impacts worldwide. The spines, tubular feet, and pedicellare all have unique functions for the flower sea urchin. The flower sea urchin is not stationary. It can move from place to place, as well as cover itself up with debris for further protection. Although they are toxic, the flower sea urchin is not all that bad. They like to be left alone and left undisturbed, and will use their venom to protect itself and feed itself. But venom is not all that it produces. They naturally produce life-saving biomolecules, making the flower sea urchin a living paradox. The most important takeaway is to be careful when you dive. Even experts need to be careful when dealing with these highly venomous creatures. If you dive, make sure you are aware of your surroundings and that you don't touch anything and leave habitats and organisms alone. If you suspect that you have come into contact with a flower sea urchin, please seek medical attention right away. Do not wait. Thank you for watching my presentation. Here are my citations.